Hooves echoed gently from the barn as horses stirred awake, and along a narrow garden path lined with blooms, Vince Gill and Amy Grant strolled side by side, coffee in hand, their footsteps slow and unhurried. This is no stage or red carpet, but a living sanctuary where music, love, and Southern charm come together in one quiet kingdom. Today, you'll step inside that world, through the farmhouse rooms and the orchards, to see how a country legend lives off stage. To understand why Vince came to this land, let's look back at the journey from Oklahoma to the pinnacle of country music. Vince Gill was born in 1957 to J. Stanley Gill, a lawyer who also played music on the side, and that double life left a deep impression. His father taught him chords on the guitar and encouraged him to experiment with banjo, mandolin, dobro, and fiddle. By the time he hit his teens, Vince wasn't just dabbling, he was mastering. High school found him living a double rhythm of his own. By day, he was on the golf team, honing a smooth swing, and by night, he was picking bluegrass with a local group called Mountain Smoke. Those gigs in community halls and small festivals gave him his first taste of an audience and a discipline for blending tight harmonies with technical skill. The late 1970s were his boot camp. Gill cycled through some of the most respected bluegrass outfits in the country: Bluegrass Alliance, Boone Creek with Ricky Skaggs, and later Sundance with Byron Berline. Each stop sharpened a different facet: arranging, harmony singing, on-stage banter. By the end of the decade, he had a reputation as a musician's musician, the guy who could slip into any band and elevate the sound. By 1979, the phone call that would change everything came from Pure Prairie League. Gill stepped in as lead singer and guitarist, and his voice powered the hit "Let Me Love You Tonight" up the charts, giving the soft rock outfit a country edge and putting Vince in front of mainstream audiences for the first time. Suddenly, he was no longer just a sideman with a fiddle case, he was a frontman. After Pure Prairie League, he joined the Cherry Bombs, Rodney Crowell's crack touring band, where he met future producers Tony Brown and Emory Gordy Jr. Those relationships would prove pivotal when he launched his solo career. He dabbled in bluegrass again with the album Here Today, but soon signed with RCA and then MCA in 1989, a move that set him up for a decade of dominance. When I Call Your Name in 1990 went platinum and established Gill as a heartfelt balladeer with the chops to back it up. Follow-ups like Pocket Full of Gold, 1991, and I Still Believe in You, 1992, hit #1 on the country charts, cementing his status as a solo star. Through the 1990s and 2000s, he sold over 26 million albums, racked up dozens of top 10 hits, and was inducted into the Grand Ole Opry in 1991. His voice, clear, warm, and unshowy, became one of the defining sounds of modern country music. Even with that success, he never stopped collaborating. He played with the Time Jumpers, cut a bluegrass tribute to the Moody Blues, and added guitar or vocals to albums by artists as varied as Bonnie Tyler, Reba McEntire, and Emmylou Harris. Younger musicians cite him as both a mentor and a model of generosity. The Nashville press dubbed him country's gentleman star, a player as respected backstage as he was beloved on stage. And then came an unexpected twist: the Eagles. After Glenn Frey's death in 2016, the legendary rock band invited Vince Gill to share lead vocals and guitar duties alongside Frey's son, Deacon. From 2017 to 2025, Gill has been part of one of the most successful touring acts in the world, helping keep the Eagles' harmonies soaring while bringing his own subtle style to classics like Take It to the Limit and Lion Eyes. It's a rare feat, a country artist seamlessly inhabiting a rock institution without losing his own identity. All of these moves trace a steady arc, from bluegrass boy to country hitmaker to guardian of an American rock legacy. Along the way, Vince Gill has become not just a star, but a standard-bearer for musicianship, humility, and quiet excellence. And now, in the hills of Tennessee, the place he calls home tells that story just as vividly as his music does. Hidden Trace Farm, Southern Heart. Just a few miles outside downtown Franklin, Tennessee, a wooden gate and a long stretch of white fencing mark the entrance to Hidden Trace Farm. Beyond it, more than 100 acres of rolling green hills open up like a storybook page, the winding lane called Hidden Trace, curling through wildflower beds and open meadows. It's the kind of landscape that feels cinematic even before you see the house, a soft blend of Southern tradition and quiet luxury. The main house sits at the crest of a hill, a classic farmhouse with a deep wraparound porch where rocking chairs face the horizon. Step inside, and the warmth continues. A living room anchored by a brick fireplace, its mantel lined with family photos and vintage guitars, an open kitchen with a long, rustic wood dining table built for Sunday meals or impromptu jam sessions. The design feels effortless, the kind of understated comfort that only comes from living somewhere long enough to make it your own. Beyond the house, the property becomes a living postcard. A well-kept stable houses the family's horses, with stalls that smell faintly of fresh hay and cedar shavings. Nearby, Amy Grant's flower garden adds bursts of color against the green backdrop, while a small orchard of apple and pear trees hints at homemade pies and slow weekends. Down a gentle slope sits the pond, where Vince and Amy exchanged vows in 2000, a private landmark that turns the farm into a memory map of their marriage. Touring the property, it's easy to slip into host mode. You can almost picture Vince sitting on that wooden porch at dusk, guitar in hand, a melody floating out to meet the crickets. The whole scene feels like a grand ole Opry in miniature. Only instead of stage lights and velvet curtains, you get fireflies and Tennessee grass. It's a space built not for show, but for living. A retreat where a man whose voice has filled arenas can finally hear himself think. Hidden Trace Farm isn't just a home. It's a statement about roots. For Vince Gill and Amy Grant, it's where family life, faith, and music overlap. A physical expression of the Southern hospitality they've spent decades singing about. And while this is their main sanctuary, it isn't their only base in Tennessee. Brentwood House, early Nashville base. Tucked into a quiet street just south of Nashville, the property sits on a little more than an acre, a leafy retreat that feels both suburban and secluded. It was here, before the farm expanded and the Eagles tours began, that Vince laid down roots as he built his Nashville career. The approach is simple and welcoming. A curved drive lined with mature trees, a low brick facade with white trim, and a front porch that hints at the Southern charm inside. Step through the door, and your feet land on hardwood floors that stretch across a flowing floor plan. Each board seems to carry a bit of history. The countless rehearsals, family dinners, and writing sessions that have taken place here over the years. Sunlight floods the house from every angle. A bright sunroom at the back has become a favorite spot for morning coffee or quiet reading, its walls of glass turning Tennessee's changing seasons into a living backdrop. The atmosphere is airy and unpretentious, more about comfort than display. Exactly the vibe you'd expect from a man whose reputation rests on warmth and authenticity. The kitchen is where the house truly shines. Custom cabinetry painted in soft neutrals frames sleek quartz countertops, while a suite of high-end Jenn-Air appliances, including a double oven, built-in microwave, and a discreet warming drawer, makes it clear this is a working kitchen, not just a showpiece. Whether it's Amy baking for the kids or Vince pulling together a late-night snack after a studio session, the space is built to be used. Across from the kitchen sits a cozy dining area, close enough to smell what's cooking and big enough to host bandmates or family guests. In the evenings, the glow from pendant lights bounces off polished counters, turning the room into an impromptu writer's den where melodies are hummed between bites. Out back, the property opens up just enough to feel like a mini oasis, A landscaped yard dotted with mature trees offers pockets of shade and privacy, and a small garden provides herbs and vegetables for the kitchen. Vince has been known to take a notebook out to the patio, strumming a guitar while sketching lyrics or melodies. The space may be a fraction of Hidden Trace Farm, but its intimacy invites creativity of a different kind, the kind that thrives on quiet focus rather than sweeping vistas. This contrast is the key to understanding how Vince Gill balances his life. By day, he can roam over 100 acres at the farm, tending horses or hosting friends for outdoor jam sessions. By evening, he can retreat to Brentwood, close to Nashville's studios and venues, but still buffered from the city's noise. From farm to Brentwood House isn't just a change of address, it's a rhythm of peace and convenience, a way of keeping one foot in the industry and the other firmly in family life. And just as his homes tell his story, so do the instruments inside them. Vince Gill is as famous for his guitar collection as for his voice, and each instrument carries a history of its own. Guitar collection. Step inside Vince Gill's music room and you're immediately surrounded by rows of vintage cases and polished wood, the kind of space that feels more like a museum than a private home. Front and center is the legendary 1942 Martin D28 herringbone nicknamed Airplane. The guitar Gill famously traded almost everything he owned to acquire back in 1971. Built from Brazilian rosewood with a Sitka spruce top, it's known for its deep, balanced tone and responsive projection, the kind of sound that fills a hall without a microphone. In the vintage market, it's easily a six-figure instrument, but for Vince, it's priceless, the anchor of his collection and the guitar he reaches for when he wants to feel closest to his roots. On another stand sits a 1928 Martin 00045, often called the Holy Grail of pre-war Martins. Its abalone inlays shimmer under the lights, and the aged Adirondack spruce top produces a bell-like clarity few modern guitars can match. This is the instrument he might bring out for a hushed ballad or an intimate TV appearance, where the subtleties of its voice can be fully appreciated. Then there's a Martin 0040, once owned by the legendary Chet Atkins, a guitar that carries not just tonal magic, but living history. Its smaller body gives it a punchy mid-range perfect for fingerstyle work, and knowing its previous owner, it's easy to imagine the melodies it has already hosted. In Vince's hands, it's both homage and continuation, linking two generations of country guitar masters. Against the back wall are not just guitars, but mandolins, specifically a pair of Gibson Lloyd Loar-signed F5s from the early 1920s, among the rarest and most expensive mandolins ever built. With carved spruce tops, flamed maple backs, and that distinctive flowerpot headstock inlay, they produce a warm, woody chop that defined early bluegrass. In collector circles, these mandolins fetch well into the hundreds of thousands, but for Gill, they're working instruments, still brought on stage when the arrangement calls for a mandolin's sparkle. As the host might say, each guitar here is a chapter in the country music story Vince has been writing for 5 decades. They're not just possessions, but partners, instruments that shaped the sound of countless sessions, tours, and collaborations. And just as his instruments reveal the arc of his artistic life, his financial story reveals how that artistry has been rewarded. Income and net worth. His estimated net worth of over $30 million is the product of decades of consistent work, careful choices, and a reputation for reliability that has kept his calendar full without tabloid drama. Since his breakout in the early 1990s, Gill has sold over 26 million albums. Classics like When I Call Your Name, Pocket Full of Gold, and I Still Believe in You went platinum and double platinum, feeding steady royalty checks as country radio kept them in rotation. In the streaming era, those hits have found new life, introducing Gill to younger listeners and generating ongoing digital revenue. His collaborations, from Amy Grant to Reba McEntire to the Time Jumpers, also add to his catalog's depth and earning power. Live performance remains a cornerstone of Gill's income. He's a regular at Nashville's Ryman Auditorium, often hosting multi-night residencies that sell out without much promotion. His tours across the US and abroad have been models of consistency rather than spectacle. Solid ticket sales, tight bands, no cancellations. That reliability means promoters and venues treat a Vince Gill show as a sure bet, which in turn keeps his booking fees healthy year after year. In 2017, Gill joined the Eagles following the death of Glenn Frey, stepping into a role few could handle. The band's stadium tours have grossed hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide, and Gill's cut of that plus merchandise sales has given his income a major boost. It's a rare second act. Most country stars wind down in their 60s, but Gill expanded his audience to rock fans and international markets. What stands out in all these streams is how steady they are. Gill has never chased quick cash with flashy endorsements or risky ventures. Instead, he's built a portfolio of income sources that mirror his persona: honest, consistent, quietly successful. And as we'll see in the next section, Gill hasn't hoarded that success. In Nashville, they call him Mr. Nice Guy, not just for his songs, but for his heart. Philanthropy. One of his longest-running efforts is the Vinny Pro Celebrity Golf Tournament, which he launched in 1993. What started as a way to combine his love of golf with a good cause has become one of Tennessee's signature charity events, raising millions for youth golf programs and mentoring initiatives. It's not unusual to see Gill greeting players at the clubhouse, guitar still in his car from a show the night before, blending sportsmanship with showmanship in a way only he can. In 2007, he helped create the All for the Hall benefit concerts for the Country Music Hall of Fame, an institution he now chairs. The shows have featured everyone from Taylor Swift to Keith Urban, with proceeds funding educational programs that introduce young people to country music's heritage. It's a natural fit for a man who still remembers learning chords from his dad and knows what a lifeline a guitar can be. Gill has also been there in moments of crisis. In 1995, after the Oklahoma City bombing, he organized a benefit concert for victims and first responders. Over the years, he's lent his name and time to organizations like STARS, Students Taking a Right Stand, the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance, Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, Special Olympics, and, most recently, VetSaid 2025, where he performed alongside Joe Walsh to support veterans and their families. Together with Amy Grant, he has supported more than 60 nonprofits, many of them local and low-profile. They've given quietly to schools, food banks, and arts programs, often without press releases. In 2011, that steady work was recognized with the Joe Kraft Humanitarian Award, a Nashville honor reserved for citizens who make a sustained impact on the community. The pattern is clear. Gill's philanthropy is as consistent and understated as his career. No splashy foundations, no self-named charities, just a steady flow of concerts, appearances, and personal checks that keep organizations running and kids learning. It's an extension of his ethos on stage: play well, share the spotlight, lift others up. And while his public image is wholesome, his private life is richer and more nuanced. A blend of long marriages, blended families, and a style that shifts easily from bluegrass boy to Grand Ole Opry gentleman. Personal life. In 1980, he married Janice Oliver, one half of the country duo Sweethearts of the Rodeo. They spent nearly 2 decades building careers and raising their daughter, Jenny Gill. By the mid-1990s, the pressures of touring and fame took their toll, and in 1997, the couple divorced. Jenny, now a singer-songwriter herself, has performed and recorded with her father, lending her voice to his holiday album, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and continuing the family tradition on stage. By 2000, Gill married singer-songwriter Amy Grant, blending 2 families into one household. Their daughter, Corinna, was born in 2001, and the couple's home life quickly became a living mix of school runs, studio sessions, and charity events. Friends describe their relationship as steady and affectionate, the rare celebrity marriage that has grown stronger with time. On any given day at Hidden Trace Farm, you might find Vince practicing in the music room while Amy tends to her flower garden. the two of them crossing paths for coffee on the porch before heading off to their separate projects. His albums often mirror these chapters. The Key, 1998, bore the ache of divorce, its lyrics full of vulnerability and self-examination. 2 years later, Let's Make Sure We Kiss Goodbye celebrated new love, a collection of songs steeped in tenderness and gratitude. Rather than compartmentalize his life, Gil has always poured it into his music, letting fans trace his journey through melody and verse. That authenticity extends to his style. Early in his career, he was the bluegrass boy in jeans and boots, comfortable on festival stages and in church basements. As his career blossomed, he added gentlemanly touches, tailored suits at the Grand Ole Opry, crisp shirts for award shows, without ever losing the warmth that made him approachable. These days, he moves easily between the two worlds. A flannel shirt and work boots at the farm in the morning, a dark blazer and polished guitar on stage at night. It's a visual shorthand for his whole persona. Southern charm without pretense. This balance of family, faith, and self-expression is what gives Vince Gill's music its quiet power. He's not just a singer, he's a storyteller, a mentor, and a gentleman farmer whose life proves success can be soulful and steady. If Vince Gill's story inspires you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next celebrity home tour. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.